can feel the magic in the air, knowing miracles are everywhere when you listen to the wisdom of the heart. Listen with your heart. Listen with your heart.
This question is, Dear Eve, I had really low self-esteem as a teenager, and I still have a lot of self-doubt. As an adult, I now have a 2-year-old daughter, and I really don't want her to suffer the same thing. What can I do to ensure that she has healthy self-image as she grows up? This is a really great question. I too really struggled with self-esteem as a teenager, and I quite honestly believe that almost everybody does. In fact, it's an interesting statistic, and this is an old statistic, so it may be slightly different, but the statistic is that in kindergarten, 80% of the kids have high self-esteem, and you see that when you ask a question. They raise their hands, they want to play, they're involved, even if they don't know the answer. By the time you get to 5th grade, it says that it's 20% of the kids that have high self-esteem, so it's completely flip-flopped. And you ask a group of 5th graders a question, only 1 or 2 raise their hand, and they only do it if they're pretty sure they have the right answer. By the time you get to high school, this particular statistic said that only 5% of the kids have high self-esteem. Only 5%. And I personally believe from the work I've done with teenagers that the kids have 5% self-esteem left, almost across the board. Now the problem with that is that we then leave high school with this completely diminished state of esteem and go out to create our relationships, our careers, and our families, the things that mean the most to us, from a completely unstable foundation. So this is a really great question that you ask, because it's super important. Now the thing with kids is that they're like sponges, and this is like their camera lens, and their brain is the storage device, and they're taking in all this information about themselves. So as a parent, the thing that you can do is be super mindful about the words you say, and be aware of the communication that you're doing with your child. However, I've found, because my parents were super conscious and super aware and super loving and supportive, but I still ended up with low self-esteem. So what does that look like? And what I've found is that if we don't have a sense of esteem ourselves, then we communicate a different message to our children even than the one we're speaking. So the most important thing you can do, and the best thing you can do for your daughter, is start with your own self-esteem. Be really mindful of not only the words you say to yourself, inside yourself, in the form of self-talk, but also what you say about yourself in front of her, because we're always training our children with what we say and what we do. And as you start saying, oh, I'm so stupid, or I don't look good, or I can't do this, or any kind of those derogatory comments toward yourself, she's going to learn that as a way of viewing herself. It's interesting, there's another statistic that said that they did a study of following around 2-year-olds and counted the number of negative statements that they were given. And during the course of a day, the average 2-year-old gets somewhere around 432 negative or controlling statements during the day. And when they counted the positive and affirming statements the child got, it was only about 32. So it was a huge discrepancy, like 13-to-1 of negative to positive. Now, we all know 2-year-olds are super adventurous and risk takers, and the terrible twos are something perhaps that need to be controlled. So it's not necessarily that the number of negative statements is the problem. It's the insufficient number of positive and affirming statements that blows that reality out of the water. So as you're parenting your child, be really aware of the ratio of how much you say that's controlling and negative versus what you say that affirms what she's good at and what she's capable of. And then again, it goes back to yourself. What are you saying to yourself? How are you communicating about yourself? So this area of self-esteem is really super important. It's actually one of my personal passions. One of the things that I've found is that it's not just the words you say that will communicate self-esteem to her, but it's also the meaning she makes in her own mind about circumstances that happen. And this is a tricky thing, because as we get older, we become more responsible for our own self-esteem. But as children, it's very much an external reality where we're soaking up things from the outside. So with this in mind, if you and your partner or you and your mom are in the kitchen and you're having an argument and your child walks in and you say, go to your room, and you don't want her to hear this kind of unpleasant conversation, be mindful of the story that she probably just told herself in making meaning out of that is, I'm not lovable, something's wrong with me, I'm not included, I don't belong. And when you have a chance, go back and explain to her, I'm sorry I sent you out of the room. It wasn't because I don't love you, because I do so much, and you're so valuable, and we want you involved in everything. But sometimes we say things that aren't pleasant, and I don't want you involved in that because I don't want you worrying about it. And reframe it so she knows that it wasn't about her. That would be an invitation for you to just be aware of the meaning she might be making and address it. One of the things I love to look at with self-esteem is that, and this is true for both our own self-esteem and the esteem of others, is that we want to treat people like a gold mine, and ourselves as well. And what I mean by that is that if you think about it, when a miner goes into a gold mine, in order to find a single nugget of gold, he has to remove tons and tons of dirt and rock in order to find a single nugget. But the miner never, ever goes into the gold mine looking for the dirt. When we are raising self-esteem in others, or we're raising self-esteem in ourselves, we need to recognize that we're going to find the things we don't like about ourselves, and we're going to find the things that need improvement. We're going to find the dirt, if you will. But we don't want to be going looking for that. We want to go in looking for the gold, or looking for the God, the divine in us, and raising and enhancing that. So what's the good news about you? What's the good news about your daughter? What do you love about her? What do you love about yourself? And start having that conversation. Remember that self-esteem is self-esteem. So while you can pour all kinds of goodness in her, one of the most valuable things you can do is help her start finding the goodness in herself. What did you have? What went really well today? What did you love that you did today? What did you do right today? And start ending your day with a conversation of, what did we do right? What were our successes? What do we love? What are we grateful for? So that you go forth from an empowered state into your next day. A great exercise for self-esteem that you can do for yourself and teach to your daughter is what I call the mirror exercise. And this is where you actually look into a mirror, into your own eyes, and tell yourself what you love, like, and admire and appreciate about yourself, including things that were successes. I like to do this first thing in the morning as a pep talk. It might sound something like, you're going to have a great day today. You're going to go out and make new friends. You're going to meet new people. You're going to put your best foot forward. You're going to eat healthy. You're going to be mindful of your words, your thoughts, and your actions, and really give yourself a pep talk like you would to your daughter, only to yourself, and encourage her to do the same thing. The importance of this is looking into your own eyes, is that if you and I are talking to each other and I'm looking at, your complexion or your hair or your muscles, or I'm looking at something other than your eyes, we have a disconnect. When we look into each other's eyes, we feel each other's hearts. The eyes are the windows to the soul. So when you do a mirror exercise with yourself, you have that same connection to that deeper part of yourself. And this positive input starts retraining your brain. I call it train your brain to start with heart, so that your automatic conversation with yourself isn't the negative, what do I do? What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? What's bad about me? But what's right with me? What did I do right? What's good about me? And at the end of the day, do it like a recapping of the day. What were your successes today? I only ate half the cookie. I parked in the farthest spot away from the door of the store so I could have a long walk on my way in. I was nice to people. I was conscious. What did you do right today? And as you do this mirror exercise every morning and every night, you'll start training yourself to be kind and loving, and so that's your automatic message to yourself. As it relates to your daughter, you'll be training her the same thing and giving her an extremely powerful tool so that she can build her self-esteem as she goes forward with a really positive mindset and an awareness of her own strengths and her own successes and her own capabilities.
Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart.